All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. If I look a little tired today, you know what? You're probably right. I spent a lot of time last night and then this morning getting up and trying to get today's particular show ready because it involved just a lot more work than probably I would have guessed going into it. I know I promised you guys a while ago that I would do a mock draft just based on using stuff that I would use as a coach or GM scout, things of that sort, stuff I've done in the past to analyze players. And the problem is sometimes, especially when you get into the later rounds or the middle rounds, trying to get in and get that detailed information regarding each of the people. So being able to find enough video of them talking so you can analyze it and try to come up with a personality baseline or trait for them. And again, it's all kind of when you're just using video from YouTube or whatever of some guy talking. Is it going to be incredibly accurate? No, but at least try to give us a rough idea of what that person's got. Also trying to investigate RAS scores, how they established that person's RAS score, etc., etc., etc. Let me tell you, I thought, man, I'll get this done in an hour or two. I think I put about 8 hours into it, maybe a little bit more. Jen went to sleep, and I just had to keep on going. Then I woke up at I guess I don't even know, maybe like 4 o'clock this morning to finish it off. So I'm going to let you guys all know ahead of time. There are going to be mistakes in this because I know I forgot to do some stuff and didn't take the right notes on other stuff. So I think I mostly got it right. But again, before I get into what I did with the draft and explain each of the picks and the trades, because yes, there are trades, I'll try to go through that on an individual basis. So just so you all know that ahead of time, and I'll try to explain the process that a scout uses when evaluating a player and how that impacted each of those selections. So again, if I get most of you are probably aware, but outside of being a coach and a YouTuber, I've been a scout for, I don't know, like the last 6 or 7 years, something like that now. Don't hold me to that, but that's about right. And also when you're hired by a college to basically be the recruiting coordinator or one of the head recruiters, these are techniques that scouts or recruiters use when evaluating players to potentially sign to a scholarship, etc. All right, so real quick, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that march to get to 6,400 subs. If you can help out with that, that would be absolutely great. I think we're about 50 subs away. Also, if you enjoyed the video, if you're just kicking back and watching it, you can hit the thumbs up button. I did mess up. I know we had the show yesterday morning, but trying to free up some space on the computer, accidentally deleted yesterday's show. I mean, I was so focused on getting today's video out that mistakes were made. So if you want to go back and look for that, I can't help you. It's gone. And I tried to even contact some of the YouTube or people at Google to see if they can help me bring it back. But they said, yeah, once you click that button, it's gone. So, hey, that no one is no longer there, unfortunately, but hopefully I'll learn from that and not do that again. All right, enough of the jibber jabber. Let's go ahead and get this thing going because I'm going to guess you guys are here for that. Oh, wait, one last thing, just because I almost forgot about it. Outside of being a coach, YouTuber, and everything, as most of you are aware, I am a realtor and have been since, I don't know, 1842. So if you're considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, give me a call or shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. Let's see if I can use 30 plus years in the industry to yours behest, help you save some money on either buying or selling property. Okay, if you're outside the state of Michigan, you can still contact me, but I'm going to guess most of you don't want to hear all that today. You want to hear about the mock draft. So because of that, I won't be able to read off comments as much because I'm going to have to focus on the board. I'll get to the comments afterwards, but I'm sure some of you guys are going to like this. I'm sure some of you are going to hate this, but it is what it is. All right. So let's go ahead and get things going. I didn't find a way to incorporate the screen, so I'm just going to try to do this as we go down. All right, so we're going to start off with the Lions pick at 29. Yes, they have not traded up, but there is a trade. Lions pick 29 is traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Lions move back to 32, but Kansas City wants that pick back. They give up 64. We did have to give up pick one something or other, and that's where I said I made a few mistakes. Didn't write down everything, but we gave them 2 picks. We got 2 picks. Just so you know, we got the trade. We moved from 29 back to 32 and pick up 64. I want to say we gave him pick 71 as well. So that sounds about right in my head. But again, once I got to about midnight, things were getting a little hazy at times, and then getting back up at 4 o'clock to finish this thing. All right. So then let's double down on this. So we've talked about for a while in Lions Talk Live. Lions are in a pretty good spot to make some trades that they want to, especially if it's backwards and some team wants to trade up. So again, now we're at 32 and we've traded again. That's correct. Lions pick 32 is traded. Lions move back to 34. Lions move back 2 spots and add pick 180. Now that doesn't seem like a big thing right now, but again, I'm trying to anticipate Brad Holmes here. I'm trying to anticipate him and the scouting department's grades on different players. Let's hold on before you throw any stones or puncture a hole in my Mountain Dew, because you guys, let's see what you guys think of the draft. All right, so now we've moved back once again, and the pick is in. Drum roll, please. Are you ready for this? At selection 34, Detroit Lions select offensive guard Christian Haynes. Now let's start talking about this. Why the Lions moved down? The teams in between them did not appear to need interior offensive lineman. In fact, that's not why they made the trades. Christian Haynes, if you're not aware of him, so his RAS score, he's off the charts. I mean, you get into the high 8s or 9s, you've got a pretty good score. If you don't know what a RAS score is, I'm not going to bore you to death with it. You guys can Google that, jazz to death. But he has the second highest rated score of the offensive linemen in this particular, interior offensive lineman in this year's particular draft. The only other guy was like a 4th round grade, and his was off the chart, but I think he's got some physical parts. Now, and again, take this all with a grain of salt when I'm analyzing their personality traits, because I have to go off of YouTube videos or anything where I can find them talking for more than 2 or 3 seconds. And you try to get 3 or 4 or 5 of them. No, I'm not going to try to watch 10 hours on each person. I just don't have that kind of free time. But I watched enough to at least get a rough idea. He is an amicable driver. So what does that mean? Amicable means he wants everybody to get along. It actually causes him mental and physical pain to a certain degree if people are yelling, screaming at each other, whatever. But he also has a driver personality. So he can flip a switch. He can go in and become an alpha male. He can go out and, especially for an offensive lineman, he can go out and impose his will on everybody. But off the field, in the locker room, he's not going to be a distraction. He's not going to be somebody who starts, issues off the field, more than likely that are going to become an issue for the team. And this is consistent with, if you go through the last few drafts that Brad Holmes and everybody's had, that's pretty consistent with a lot of the guys they select. They want a very specific type of individual out there who's also athletic. So there we go. All right, so that's pick 34, Christian Haynes, offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, guard. All right, so you thought, hey, we're done with the trades, right? Not so fast. Brad Holmes has acquired a lot of draft picks this draft by trading down and getting other teams who needed something. Detroit Lions, as we all agree, don't need anything. So he, instead of trading up for 1 or 2 specific players, he traded back to acquire more picks to potentially go get a few very specific players. So let's pay attention to this. Detroit trades up, pick 61 and a 2025 6-rounder from Tampa Bay to the Saints for pick 45. Now you're wondering, pick 45, man, what could we be going after? What could we be trying to do? And after not much wait, not much debate, the pick is in. Are you ready for this? Another drum roll, please. All right, here we go. Selection 45, Detroit Lions select wide receiver Xavier Legette, 4.39 40-yard dash time, and look at his RAS score. He's not just straight line fast. He's athletic as can be. And I can't say certain words on the air. But also, now let's dive into his personality, expressive and extroverted. So he is somebody who's going to basically let his emotions out. He's also somebody who, as odd as this is, who also shies away from certain particular moments. So he does try to force himself to come out of his shell, I guess you could say, and let himself be heard, let himself be told. But when he steps away from those moments, he's actually a pretty shy guy. So you have two very polar opposites coming into play. He's a little bit of a wild card in that regard, in that he could potentially, and I'm just trying to talk from a scouting standpoint here, he's someone that would be a wild card that if the wrong situation or group of people got around him, could they influence him and get him to do things that maybe he shouldn't? That's where, if I'm Brad Holmes and the scouting department front office, I've got to make sure the vast majority of people around him and his positions, plus the offense, are a very particular type, because you know what? They're going to influence him positively, not negatively. And he is somebody that you're going to have to keep an eye on, because he is somebody who can be led astray. That's, I watched probably with him, just to try to establish the baseline, I tried to watch, I'd say probably close to a half hour of different clips on him talking to media or other situations, at the school. And it was tough for me to really say, hey, yeah, let's do it. But at the end of the day, I think if you're Brad Holmes in the front office and you have the right people around him and you've got to address that, you're going to be pretty happy with the results, because he is somebody who's going to work hard. He's somebody who's going to put in some time. And as far as from an athletic standpoint, he's off the chart. I mean, it's going to be real hard to find somebody who's more athletic than him. I get he's a little bit more of a known name, where Christian Haynes probably isn't as known. So I'm going to guess most people have some idea who Legette is. And you know what? Hey, the Lions got him. All right. So now we don't have to go too far. We got to go down to 64. But you know what? After waiting and baiting for, a little bit of time, the Detroit Lions are back on the board. And now the pick is in. So we've addressed two specific spots on offense. And probably most Lions fans are like, what the heck? I thought we're going defense here. Seems like a Brad Holmes thing if you ask me. But the pick is in. And remember, we made some trades, right? Kansas City needed to come up to get that spot, or at least they felt like they did. And yes, we gave up a little bit to acquire that pick. Probably in the end of the day, on the big board or the scouting board or the draft board, whatever you want to call it, it's really kind of a push for both teams, because Lions did give up 71 to get 64. But now let's see how that plays out. And I know I'm going to get some grief for this, but you know what? The selection is in. At selection 64 from the Kansas City Chiefs, first-round trade, defensive end, Marshawn Kneeland. Now, I get you guys are going to say, what the heck or whatever, but let's pay attention to him. He was first in the NFL Combine in both the 3-cone drill and the 20-yard shuttle. Now, if he was a wide receiver, a linebacker, or, just any kind of straight line speed position, this wouldn't be as applicable. He was, I want to say, 18th or 19th in the 40-yard dash time. But I want you to go back, and you get a free second, this week or today or whatever. Go back and look at the test scores for Aiden Hutchinson. And I want you to think about 3 or 4 other prominent pass rushers. And I want you to look at their 40 times. Then I want you to look at their cone drills. Then I want you to look at their shuttle drills. And I think you're going to see a lot of consistency and a lot of familiarity when it comes to Marshawn Kneeland, the defensive end from Western Michigan University. Now, he is an expressive driver. What does this mean? Expressive means, sort of like we were talking about with Xavier Legette. He's gonna talk. He's probably gonna be pretty decent on the cameras, but also when he gets on the field, he's one of those guys that flips the switch. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the movie Cinderella Man, Max Baer, real clown or whatever. In the movie's different than who he was in real life, but in the movie, he's a clown playing up to the cameras, everything. Probably like, it's who he is. He's okay with getting some attention. But when he gets on the field, and you can see post-game and in-game opportunities on the sidelines, watching him talk, especially with his positional coaches, you can see the change go across his face. He was like Max Baer. When Max Baer got on into the ring and he felt threatened, Max Baer could flip the switch and become I don't want to say a killer, but he could become a gamer. That's Marshawn Kneeland. I watched a little bit more than him just because I've seen him over the years, and that's this kid. Off the field, class clown. On the field, he's cutthroat, and that's I thought really for what we need and the fact that he could be developed, it seemed like a great pick to me. All right, so we got a bit of a wait now from this pick until the next one, and then that would be selection 180. So that was a part of the trade. I forget which trade off the top of my head, but we picked that one up. Want to say, I'm not even going to speculate, but I want to say it was one of the earlier trades where we got something to trade down and up or whatever. But anyways, the pick is in, and now you're going to be like, hey, we've got a couple different things here, but let's pay attention to this one here. Selection 180, running back Marshawn Lloyd, 4.46 40-yard dash time. He is from USC, among other places. And check this out. No fumbles the last 3 seasons. So in driver amicable. So rare for, I would say, a running back to have this personality combination. But driver, and I think I've kind of already explained driver personalities or other, we'll call them alphas. You get it. I think you get the idea what a driver is. Amicable, wants everybody to get along. So somebody, hey, he's not going to rock the boat on anything. Doesn't sit well with him. He's somebody that's going to be a typical Brad Holmes front office selection. This is probably if you look back over all of our draft selections in the time Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and all of them have been here, this is the most common combination of personality traits that you'll find across the board. So guys that all want to get along, don't want to rock the boat, but also flip the switch when they're on the field. So the kid's not bad at all by any stretch of the imagination, and he's got some game-breaking speed. One of the problems he does have with his speed is sometimes he does not use it always to his best advantage. He can sometimes get himself in trouble. And what I mean by that is sometimes he does not wait for offensive linemen to set up holes correctly, but that's something that's coachable, that's teachable. If you think about Jamari Gibbs last year when he was with the Lions, the first couple of games, he kind of had that problem. He was just so fast, he didn't allow the blockers to really get things set up for him. I believe Lloyd kind of suffers from that too. I've watched him more and more just because I'm a USC fan. So take that information for what you want and go with that. But here's why I'll say this. You guys are probably going to be like, wow, we thought we'd do more with this or that position. But I want you to really pay attention to these next couple picks. To me, if I'm right with them, this is what a scout gets paid for by most franchises. The scouting department, it's easier to have a lot of information on the first couple rounds, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. You start getting past that, that's where scouts really make their names for themselves. That's where they really earn their paychecks because there's less accessible information on most of these guys. But I think we've uncovered a few guys here that you guys, when you hear about them, you're like, wow, I'm pretty good with that. But let's wait and see what you guys have to say. All right, so after 180, we didn't have to wait a whole long time. We're going to go to 201, and you know what? The pick is in. All right, are you ready for this? Drum roll. All right, do what you got to do, but here we go. Selection 201, Demani Richardson, 6'2", 4.34 40-yard dash time, a 9 RAS, and I think it was the hard part when you start getting down here is some of the RAS scores aren't as clear. They're guesstimates, but he was around a 9, and getting somebody like that in the 200s, one of the fastest players in the NFL Combine, let alone as a defensive back at 6'2". He does have one hellacious wingspan. And I'll tell you this, everybody we picked up in the secondary this year had certain traits for them. In wingspan, you guys heard me talk about it, the fact that they can break on passes. They don't have to always be right there. The shift hips out of a lot of them, the ability to get in and out of routes and keep up with receivers. This kid's got all that and so much more. Introverted, analytical. So he's, I've already explained introverted personality types, but just real quick, someone who kind of is shy for the most part, isn't going to talk a ton just because it's not their nature. That's why they're introverted. And then analytical, someone that you're going to have to walk through everything, on the dry erase board when you're setting up a play. All right, we're doing this to go here to here to there. He's somebody that needs A, B to C. We're doing this to achieve that to get to here. So not a problem to coach. You do have to probably spend a little bit more time explaining things as a coach. But I will say this, you look at just the raw physical stats, and now you add the emotional component that doesn't offer any issues. You're not going to have to babysit this guy. He's someone that, hey, you explain why we're trying to do something, we're going to do it. Once they get it, yeah, you're good to go. You'll put him off and let him go do whatever he's got to do. But to have scores like that at this particular pick with that size, you just can't coach these things. And that's what I'm impressed about when I did more and more research on Richardson. It's just the fact that he's potentially going to be there at this late in the draft. Uh, I thought was impressive. All right. So as you guys knew, from 201, we don't have to wait long at all. We're going to 205. And you know what? I'm just not going to bore you to death. Pick is in. And sort of like we're just talking about with Richardson, you're going to see a lot of similarities here. Linebacker Jordan McGee, 4.55 40-yard dash time, another 9 overall RAS score, driver expressive. So expressive, I've beaten that one up to death. Driver, you guys already get, but you've got somebody out there that just wants to hit. They want to go after people. They play angry. And you know what? They're going to use a ton of emotions because the driver aspect and then the expressive aspect. You want somebody who's going to be a special teams ace that potentially could develop into being, something for your linebacker core. Think about this. This kid's got wheels and he plays with passion all the time. He wants to hit something. He wants to go destroy something. And once he hits it, he's going to be the one jumping up and, encouraging his teammates. He's going to be expressing himself, I guess you could say, and playing with endless emotion. Compare him to something like a Rodrigo. Rodrigo's a little expressive, but both of them are very similar in their personality traits and how they're going to play on the field. And the fact that he's got that kind of speed, that kind of overall agility, yeah, that's a pretty nice one. All right, at least in my opinion. You guys can have your own opinions, but that's my opinion. All right, last pick, and it's going to be 249. 249. And you know what? Not as much information. I really had to work on this one. So I looked for very specific things because really at this point in the draft, I get, like I said, there's less and less information out there. It's going to be harder to get firm understandings of people. So let's see what we got here. All right, selection 249, defensive tackle Casey Rogers, RAS score almost a 9, and alpha analytical. So again, driver personality, somebody who wants to be in control, wants to go after people, and analytical. I already told you, somebody you got to explain A, B, C. You got to explain why we're trying to achieve something. They've got to emotionally feel very comfortable with making sure they understand what you want, and then once you do it, once they get a grip on it, they're going to go do it and achieve it. So to me, the longer I studied Brand Holmes' first draft, second draft, third draft, from a personality trait standpoint, that's where you look for baselines and who they're going to take and who they're not going to take. And obviously, I can't say they're going to draft each, this should be taken as the Holy Grail or Bible, what they're going to draft. But I want to at least give you guys some rough ideas without having a 4-hour video on everything. I look for, outside the physical stuff, the mental component, because to me, that's nowadays it's almost as important as the physical stuff because teams are more and more in North America are paying attention to it. Overseas markets like China or the Middle East, it's as important to them as the physical stuff because I'll put it this way. I go scout somebody to potentially sign them to a contract for somewhere in China. One of the first things that comes up is, can they survive here? Because not everybody can. And same with some parts of the Middle East or Asia. If you can't adjust to those cultures, you won't, the teams won't keep you there. So, and same with Russia or whatever. So, all right. All right, that will do it for the draft. At least I gave you guys kind of a compressed view on why each of the selections took place. Some of the things you maybe get this stuff somewhere else, but I'm going to assume you probably don't get most of the personality evaluations for most of the channels. I try to focus on that. I would also encourage, if you guys want a little bit more information on these guys, pay attention to a lot of their lateral quickness and also their explosive 3-step. So if you get those, you start seeing why guys alter at different positions. Explosive 3-step. So let's just say for like Jordan McGee, when he first reads the play in his first 3 steps, how fast can he get to his max speed? So let's just say somebody runs, like a 4.5. Okay, McGee runs a 4.55. How many steps is it taken to get to that max speed during that run? For him, I think it was like 2.5. Marshawn Kneeland was right around 4. But you're with Marshawn Kneeland, you're relying more on his other quickness and abilities to separate. What's his name? Legette. Yeah, you want to talk about somebody who's rare. He gets to his max speed in the first 2 steps. I mean, he can just accelerate incredibly fast. So, I mean, I won't bore you with all of them, but let's see what you guys have to say. I see there's more than, I'll probably go reverse on the comment section here because I don't know if I can make it through 70. Does have any comments? All right, Doug, you got 3 really good picks and maybe a sooner choice and our type players. So time will tell. Yeah, 100% with that. I'll go with that, Doug. Developmental, it is fundamental. Yeah, and we talked about it for a while. They're not going to be able to keep all these guys. So I try to target a few guys that, hey, they're easily going to make, in my opinion, the 53-man roster. There'll be some other guys because they're projects. If you do have to slap them on the practice squad, they're probably not going to get gobbled up right away. Gary, what do you got? Adolph, I fully agree with you. Yes, kicker. Yeah, to me, I went ahead with the idea that the Lions are going to try to invest themselves in the idea of getting the Panthers kicker. I mean, if they don't get him, then that's probably going to trade. Well, I guess they won't get him before the draft, but my anticipation is they're going to go after the Michigan Panthers kid. And I hope Bates becomes a Lion too. Well, all right. Randy, all good picks. Thanks for that. Bo, we're going to get Bates. Yes, no need to draft a kicker. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with things, Bo, is that they were going to go after him. In your opinion, Broski, missed the Broski sighting. All right, Ed, why no kicker? Just because I think they're going to try to make a push really for the Michigan Panthers kid. Gary, like all the picks except round 2, too early to take a wide receiver there. Whose spot does he take? Basically, I think he's going to take the Josh Reynolds void and developmental piece. He just, man, that's he's fast as heck. He's athletic as heck, I should say. Anthony, why wouldn't you have information if you're a targeting player? You aren't going to find out everything about him. I'm doing this all one person in a room for, a couple hours or whatever it was, trying to figure it out and not much sleep. Most NFL teams, as you guys probably know, they've got 4 to 7 scouts, and some of them are going to be assigned, and they have been for multiple months by now, to specific rounds, areas of the nation to target players and evaluate them. So just me, myself doing it, I can't cover the entire nation in a couple hours and get that much detailed information, but that's why you pay scouts to do their job. They're very good at what they do. Ed, we got pick 249. Okay, but what? All right, there you go. Wardo, too many picks, in my opinion. Yeah, not wrong with that, man. Broski and Anthony, that was funny. All right. Let's see. Ed, pick 205, development player, practice squad guy. Yeah, 100%. Bo, another Rodrigo personality. Correct. Yeah, and I thought they were very similar in that regard. Bo, I like the measurables on Richardson. Introverted analytical reminds me of Mike Haynes. There you go. Let's see. Silver let down for me and the halfback. You know who I like. You know what? Surfer, I nearly took your guy too. It was funny because I didn't make the correlation until I started really paying attention to some stuff, and I was like, wait a minute, Troy and everything. I nearly took him, but because we drafted the other running back from USC, I didn't take a second running back. All right, pick 201 looks good. All right, Ray Lakes willing to go up that high. Why not? Trump, nice pick. I like. Fair enough. Anthony, it's going to be Broski after a Winsky. There you go. All right, Great Lakes. What's your take on Alabama's number 1 cornerback? I like him. I like him a lot. I think if the Lions do pull off a trade somewhere into, say, the 12 through 20 range, there's some real good players for them to take. With my particular draft here, I tried to look for draft values and what it's going to take to get up to 15, to 13, to 17, anything around there. And that's where I just ran into problems. There was one particular player I really wanted the Lions to get, and that's Verse. But every time I try to look at the boards as far as the values, what it would more than likely take to go and get them, I just wasn't sure that would work. So once I kind of ruled out making a trade up into the mid-teens or something, then I said, well, how do we Scooby-Doo this? How do we still get players that are similar, but we don't overpay for them? How do we keep the practice squad guys, the developmental guys, without them just being snatched up left or right by some other team? So that's where I ultimately decided to think as best I could and try to predict what Brad Holmes would do and say, hey, these couple of guys are going to be, opening day 53-man roster guys. So I think we all get, there'll be a couple guys here that like Haynes, He'll probably, if he's not a starter, he's going to be a starter probably within a year or so. Legette, I get, you guys know who he is. He's going to add different components to the team. You put him opposite the side, I think J-Mo, that's a problem for a lot of teams, especially, most wide receivers do take some time to kind of grow and develop. And I get that. But, again, you're trying to cause problems for other teams, and just the way the rules have really changed in the last, several years. I think you need defense for sure, but it's incredibly hard to play defense now. So make it harder and harder on that defense. That was kind of my mindset. Marshawn, Kneeland, I won't bore you guys to death. I think he's real good, especially if you're thinking developmental. And that's where I went with the rest of the picks too. Just, hey, where are you going to develop these guys? What can he get in a year or so? Anyways, now you know my thoughts on that. All right, Randy went up to 8 for Turner, but he was taken pick ahead. Took Onzuka, but I killed that name. But would have took Verse. Yeah, I like Verse. I like his explosiveness, especially his 3 steps. So pay attention to that, because he can dip and rip and get after people, especially since we struggle with mobile quarterbacks. I really liked him. There was one scenario I ran where we did trade up significantly to get him. I just didn't feel comfortable with it from my standpoint. Brad Holmes, who knows, man? Maybe he does pull the trigger. But I think we had to give up a boatload in my draft grade board in order to achieve that. And there were some other potential guys there too that we could have taken, but we'll see. Let's see, Rocky, but this draft ruined my Thursday night. Sorry about that, man. All right, Bashful Banter, there you go. Dennis, yep. Aaron Henry, yeah, there you go. Anthony, what's it all about? Yeah, it's about having fun, man. Latua, yeah, I liked him too. I just couldn't get him without, in my opinion, overpaying. But yeah, so end of the day, this should only be taken for fun, not as the gospel or the holy grail or anything like that. I'm just trying to give you guys some thoughts or whatever. And I know when the draft's over, I promised you guys we do an hour-long video on what's the life of a scout or a GM. We'll still do that, but at least this gives you guys some more stuff I don't think you'll get on most other places. So at the end of the day, trying to make content fun. All right, Gary, good morning, all. Woke up late, grit for life, 100%. Good morning to you, Gary. Ed, yep, just having fun, 100%. Answer 14, any good talent, both sides of the ball. I like the picks. Thanks for that, man. Let's see, Gary, you do, Ed, but the banter back and forth is fun. No harm, no foul. All right, Ed, let's see. That's the problem with going in reverse here is I'm reading everything after it's happened. Thanks, Gary. I really love my Lions and really want them to win the division. Yeah, I think we all do, man. Bo, development is fundamental. Yeah, I think you got that one. I think this year we can't wait to see undrafted free agencies are running. Yeah, and that will be another part. Broski, answer 14, Ella, good one. You should be a comedian. Lions have one legit wide receiver. Legette will only produce 1 year in college, and whack job. Best in the NFL, Ella, you're funny. All right, my thoughts are next year we won't have many spots on the team, so won't need picks. That could be also true. 14, you had to Legette into his receiving corp, and it probably the best in the NFL. It could happen, man. It could happen. I was walking 3 handle family. Yeah, all right. Let's see, Doug. Most unusual process seen this offseason probably will be surprised like this with Brad Holmes. It could be, man. Yeah, it could be. Brad Holmes, I mean, again, I'm not him or anything, and nobody is other than him. So, but I just tried to more or less go after without overpaying, which is, you looked a few times Brad Holmes has traded up. In my opinion, he did not overspend. He actually got pretty good value. So you think about J-Mo or, Broderick Martin, some other trades up. He got something, in my opinion, on the cheap. And I can remember when he traded up with Minnesota to get Jameson Williams, everybody was like, wow, you didn't really give up much. And that's the scenario I kept running into. That's the part. It's just tough when you're trading up, because if you catch somebody, a team, and I don't know if it was Minnesota when we traded up to Jameson Williams or whatever, but let's just say there's some team that was so set on maybe at like pick 14, player A being there. And now somebody at 13 snatched them and they weren't anticipating it. Now they're stumbling. They don't want to panic and draft somebody they're going to regret. that's when you might be able to strike gold as a general manager and move up and get somebody cheaper than you anticipated, or that draft pick selection cheaper than you anticipated, because that team, instead of making a bad pick, is willing to move back, take less draft capital in return, just so they can buy themselves some time and not make a bad selection. So that could happen. At least at the end of the day, when I ran this, again, just I didn't want to overpay for any spots. There were a couple that got real close to where I think I got up to maybe like 16 or something. And I just, I didn't want to force an unrealistic trade or something to happen just so I could have content to produce. So I went with a mindset. We're going to stick to the boards, the grades for each draft pick, the values, and try to get max return on that, which I think we did. We got depth. We got some impact players. And more importantly, like I said before, some guys that could be grown and developed that are incredibly athletic. But if you trust your coaching staff to coach them up, you could get some real good returns here. Rocky agree, answer 14 about Legette. Yep. Me too, man. I think, again, he was the one real wild card in this because of his personality traits. The fact about his athleticism, that's unquestionable. He is just incredibly athletic. But he also has a personality type that can go one of two ways. There will be no up the middle. You get him around the wrong people, that kid could fall off the wagon. You get him around the right people, that kid's going to stay the course. So if you draft him, you've got, as a general manager and an organization, you have to be aware of those settings 100%. Because otherwise you're going to do a disservice to the player. And that's, that's more my strengths as a scout. It's easy to watch somebody, whether it's, football, basketball, whatever sport, usually in about 15, 30 minutes, you can figure out if they're athletic enough, if they've got the skill sets enough to really be a person of interest for your organization. Now you usually got to watch another hour, couple hours, them on the field looking for different situations, see how they respond to it, because that's going to be more telling information. Now you want to watch them come out of that, post-game interview or interviews they do, off the field, away from stuff. Look through their social media if you can, to really start getting more and more information about who they are internally, so you know what you're taking. A lot of people can wear a mask, whether it's in sports or legal settings or just life in general. They can wear masks for 10, 15 minutes. But then you start getting past that. If you're still grilling them and interviewing them, that's where the mask starts slowly chipping away. If you're good at what you do, you can push the kind of buttons you need to, or set up questions here to get results later on in the interview, to really get them to take the mask off and be themselves, so you know who you're investing in draft capital or financials in. All right, enough about that. All right, Broski, let's see, answer 14, Broski Bear. Glad you like my content. There you go. Doug, 45 and 64 is way better than 61 and 73. Good moves. Thanks for that, man. Thanks for that. All right, Randy, bold statement this year. Will shatter all-time trades. Will shatter all-time trades in the first round. I will say this, Randy. When I went through it, and I guess I should have left it on the computer. When I went through the simulations and trying to find baselines and stuff, there were a ton of trades in the first two rounds. So I know that in recent years you've seen more and more trades happening. I don't think it will be any different this year. Somebody's always trying to get one over on somebody, and it seems to be more and more the norm. So I agree with you there. All right, Broski, when is that wide receiver you have with a funny name extension happening, or is it St. Brown? I think it will happen. Yeah, but look around the NFL. There are some teams that have done extensions already. There are some that haven't. And unless everybody's going to let people go, it will just happen over the course of time this spring and summer. David, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, David. Hopefully having a great one. Bo, Economist Broski. There we go. Dennis, did we draft Benny Blades? Yes, we did, but that was a few decades ago. So we have not brought him back, and I don't think we want to. Want to say he's like an athletic director at a high school down in Florida now, and he has to take a golf cart around because I know his mobility isn't what it once was. Answer 14, the Lions are the best environment for players in the NFL, in your opinion. And that's why I think, you don't want to take too many risks on personality traits you have question marks about. But one every couple of years, that's probably not so bad. And also with the type of, question marks you have, I didn't think it was bad. I thought these all seemed to fit in line with the vast majority of parameters the Lions seem to establish for their personality trait side, plus the type of athletes they seem to target. So when he meshed them both together, this fit within my acceptable parameters for what they've done over the first 3 drafts. So take that for some food for thoughts. But again, you guys get an opportunity. Pay attention to some of those wingspans, those 3 steps, those vertical jumps. And then if you want, you really start getting into the things, start paying attention to how these guys talk to the cameras or people and their social media. You start establishing a baseline of who you're actually bringing into the organization. And I think, yeah, they all seem to fit that. All right, Broski, Bo, let's see. Their mama must have been drunk or high when she named them. And the Aquadarius guy isn't a bear. No, he's no longer a bear. Hey, and as far as the names, man, hey, you got 2 different cultures coming to play. I'm down with it. I thought it was kind of cool. All right, Randy, what do you got? So in a nutshell, we could have a Rodman type. I don't know if I want to say he's Legette's that type. But also to be completely fair, I got to watch, enough stuff on each of the guys to get at least a rough idea. But I also want to say I didn't watch him for, 2 or 3 weeks each selection to try to really say, hey, this guy is this person. Or everything I threw out there was a rough shoe. Could he be led astray in, I guess you could say, to the dark side of the force? Sure, absolutely. Could he be Dennis Rodman? I won't go that far. I think Rodman, just, having decades of watched him, I'd say a lot of his stuff is more from a growth developmental standpoint in his young childhood years that came into play that caused some fractures within him, I guess would be the polite way to put it. He has, hey, I'm not going to go on about Dennis Rodman, but I don't think he's quite, Leggett's not quite that, but you do want to be mindful of what settings you put him in. Bo, Daddy picks their names. There you go. Smokey Broski, you're dumb. All right, fair enough. Randy, a lot more willing trade partners. There could be 100%. Broski, Bo, Booth, Daddy. All right, fair enough. JDC, Broski, seems like more and more names nowadays have about 12 to 20 vowels. Yeah, and hey, you got I want to say a German mother and American father. Hey, you incorporate things of both people's backgrounds and such. So yeah, I'd say that's totally normal. Bo, what do you got? 2 times Mr. Universe, Daddy. This is true. Yeah, somebody really knows how to work out. Dennis, oh damn. Doug, who are some of the worst GMs in the league and why? I'll leave that to you guys to debate. Yeah, I don't really follow enough of the other GMs to have a sound opinion on it. It'd be me speculating. Broski, JDC, kind of like JDC. There you go. All right. Ed, look at Sutton. He was a personality trait risk. When I look at him, I think the problem with Cam Sutton, and he does have certain personality traits. He is introverted. I'd put that as 100% at this point. I think, though, Ed, beyond his personality traits, so in North America, for the most part, you use a 4-tier system. So here's your primary personality trait. Here's your sub-personality trait. Other parts of the world, so like you go to the Asias, you more or less have 8 different degrees you're going to evaluate somebody's personality type. Yes, you have your primary, but you'll do a deeper dive onto the sub-personality traits. They just believe it's a better system to get a firmer grasp on who you're looking at. With Sutton, though, Ed, I think a lot of it is just the events that have transpired in roughly the last year for him. It's my anticipation, if you were to do a deep dive on him, somewhere right around December last year, maybe November, I'm trying to remember different things in my head. There was an event that took place, and as we now know, it's probably the courtroom battle for his child that really has affected him. And because of that, it is now dragged on to the event that we all know happened March 7th. And from there, further exacerbated himself. That's why I think when he left the Detroit Lions training facility, he checked himself, my guess is, into a mental health facility. And that's also why he couldn't be contacted during that time, is because in very few circumstances do they allow you to have access to your phone or anything outside of that facility. You are there just to receive help and they don't want any outside distractions or anything offering new triggers to you. So my anticipation is that's also why the legal teams or Florida have probably backed off on some of the charges, because they understood that while he was gone, he was receiving mental health. There's probably a doctor or two that corroborated that along with the facility. So, all right, that's enough on that. All right, JDC Broski Bear. Yep, just like that. Eduardo, I agree. A great day at Moonscar Blaine. Eduardo, let's go Lions, baby, 100%. Eduardo, excited to get at least 4 games this year, 2 away, 2 home. Fair enough. I hope you enjoy them. Eduardo, Lions State at 29. I suspect Carolina will come a-calling. Yeah, and they were one of the ones I thought maybe would be a trade partner. Eduardo, Thursday night draft will be a long day. Yes, it will, man. It will be. Randy, Sutton sounds like CTE with concussions. It's possible. It is possible. And there's only one way to find out, and that's to do a deep dive into it. All right, Eduardo, either way, trade up or we won't be picking at all. Let's go, Brad. There you go. Is that still you, Broski? What's up? You grumpy? That could be. Eduardo, the Jags GM is pretty bad. He won't pick players from certain schools if he doesn't like their head coach, even if the player is good. It happens, man. Let's see. Aaron, what position do you want to see drafted first for Detroit? For me, it's either going to be defensive end or offensive line, just because it seems like this regime really is focused on making sure those trench players are always at a high level and always good to go. So that's me, and that's also why I went with the first round pick, the offensive lineman. Excuse me. Yeah, I just thought, when he looked at his RAS score and everything, the fact that Christian Haynes was the second best in the NFL as far as the interior offensive lineman. You look at his personality traits as well. I thought, he was an ideal fit. Now, if there were a couple other guys that would have slipped there, then I would have had no problem taking him. But he was there. I felt sound with it. I thought this is somebody you're going to be drafting and getting into a second contract. All right, Eduardo Edge, Aaron. Okay, yep, and nobody would have complained with that. Like I said, I wanted to go up and get Verse. It's just the values for that trade just never panned out. I tried to, Scooby-Doo it, think outside the box. How can we make this happen? But at the end of the day, I just felt like we were giving up way too much. Let's see, Moonscar, Eduardo O'Neill. I'm working towards one. You have a great day too. All right, Trump. Any news? Any on news? Any on news? All right. I'm not 100% sure, man. Randy, we seem like Bama players at Eduardo. Yeah, we do. Brian, I don't ever catch you live. Good morning from Lake Beer, Michigan. Well, good morning to you. Hopefully having a great one, Brian. Hey, thanks for making one of the lives. Eduardo, Brad definitely has a type. Yes, he does. I would say him and the scouting department have been focused on that the entire time they've been here. Aaron, Aiden needs help to be double teamed less. So agreed. I will go with that. Bo, Bama and Iowa players seem like Brad kind of guys. They do. He does seem to have a pipeline there. Brian, what about a quarterback? At least in this mock draft, I didn't go for any. I just, I didn't see anybody superseding Goff nor superseding Hooker. Well, at least not without going way up into the draft. Is that so you, Brian Kenny? Welcome to chat. Yeah, yes, welcome into the chat, man. Aaron, no double teamed. Yeah, not double teamed. Excuse me. Trump, OJ Stud, auto spell. Yep, stupid auto spell. OJ. All right. Well, OJ, yes, is no longer with us. All right, Randy, I'm new too. It's usually smalls. It's unusual. Yeah, I'll go with that. Well, Aaron McNeil was double teamed a lot. Yeah, McNeil was correct, and I think DJ Reader being in there is going to free up Lee McNeil a ton. Same with Aiden Hutchinson. All right, Aaron, love McNeil. Hard not to, man. He seems like the type of player this regime salivates over, loves to have. So kudos for them. All right, Randy from the Big Oswaka. Yeah. All right, we'll go with that. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up a little early. I've got a bunch of showings today, and then I have my exit interview at the school today at the end of the season review. So I got to get ready for that. Who is our third quarterback, Brian? Nate Sutfield, currently at least, but that could change. So if there is any kind of breaking news today and I'm able to get to it, I'll get it over to you guys as quick as possible. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Also, don't be afraid to hit that thumbs up button. It'd be really great if I can get to like 200 likes on this particular video. So if you guys can help out with that, would be great. Let's see, Rocky, what do you got? Hopefully, with Brad signing, all the D line, Hutch has some help. Agreed. Miles, yep, go Lions. All right, Bo, Reader, McNeil are Motor City Maulers. They are. So, all right, I'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your days, and we'll see you all the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.